Are you an amateur disc golfer? Are you brand new to disc golf? Or are you a very experienced disc golfer? It doesn't matter what category you fall into as a disc golfer, we all make mistakes and need to improve our games as time goes on. In this episode, Trenton and myself, two fellow AM disc golfers, give you the 7 things that AM disc golfers are doing that they need to stop. By stopping these things, you allow yourself to improve your score, improve your game, and beat more of your friends. These 7 things are holding you back. Stop letting these things hold you back and start playing better disc golf today. And if you want to be a better disc golfer, make sure you hit the subscribe button right now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're listening to us from. Hit it right now so that way you never miss another episode. It doesn't matter if you're struggling with putting, approach shots, driving, forehands, mental game. It doesn't matter. We have some incredible podcasts talking about all of those subjects and how you can improve at that specific subject. So if you're looking to be a better disc golfer, you're in the right place. You need to subscribe today. But let's get to the 7 things that AM disc golfers are doing that they need to stop right now. All right, what's going on, Trent? How we doing, man? What's been new with you lately?
What is happening, dude? Oh, what is new for me? I can't see. Look, I'm tired. I can't even think. Well, I have baby number 2. Was just born 6 days ago, and let's just say, all you fathers out there, let us know. You guys all know how it is, but man, I forgot. I have one kid, almost 3, and I forgot what the newborn stage is like. And let me just tell you, you sleep for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if you're lucky at a time, and usually only like two of those, maybe 3 of those a night. So we're having a good time. It's going well.
Not something to look forward to in my shoes, I guess. The lack of sleep, I don't think it's gonna be good for me.
It's great, man. How about yourself? You always ask me. Let me ask you. How about you?
Oh well, I'm getting ready to go across the pond and for some biz, and so that should be pretty good. I don't think I'll be able to do any disc golf over there, so that kind of sucks. But getting ready for the next tournament that we have. Oh my God. R.I.P. in the chat, boys. R.I.P. in the chat.
You gotta leave that in.
Okay, so if I decide to leave this in, and I just left that, if I left that in, and you're an audio listener, you're not subscribed to our YouTube, which you're messing up if you're not subscribed to our YouTube.
100% messing up. We're almost to 1,000, by the way. Come go do that, please.
My camera just fell down, and yeah, so another reason to subscribe to the YouTube. You get to see the bloopers, I guess, mid-show. But yeah, man, everything is good. Getting ready for this tournament that's coming up. Really excited to talk about today's show. I know you and I, we've kind of been chopping it up about this, kind of trying to theorize about this for quite a while now, and I've been trying my hardest. If you listen to this podcast and you don't follow us on Instagram, make sure you go do that, at Clankers. Same thing on TikTok. I finally decided... Trent and I, we decided we should make a TikTok. So if you're one of those cool kids who are on TikTok, I guess go check us out over there. And so pretty much I want to interact with all of you guys. I want to get to know you. I want to understand. I want to understand how we can better help you and how we can make you a better disc golfer. Like, that's literally the entire point of this brand, is to help you be the best disc golfer you can be. So in doing that, talking to a lot of new disc golfers, I think this episode could be really helpful, because these are going to be 7 things that AM disc golfers do that they need to stop. So I'm super excited to get into it. Let's just go ahead and get into number 1. The first thing that AM disc golfers do that they need to stop is they are only playing rounds. There is no practice. There is no field work. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, what? Come on, man. I'm just trying to have fun. You can have fun. That's okay. I'm not saying don't ever play your rounds, but I am saying if you want to truly get better at disc golf, if you want to see your game elevate, if you want to get better, if you want to move up divisions, then you need to do field work. Even if you don't want any of that stuff and you want to just beat your friends, you need to do field work, because that is how you learn your form. That's how you're able to practice. There's no pressure. There's probably no chance of you losing your disc because you're probably doing it in an open field. You're not doing it on the course where maybe there's water or trees, high grass, whatever. So those are a couple of reasons why you should be doing field work, because it will allow you to learn your form. And another most critical thing about doing field work is you need to do it so you can understand your discs and understand the flight of your discs. If you do not understand the flight of your discs, how are you going to trust them in certain situations? Let's say you have a hole that is 300 feet and it's a hyzer the whole way. If you pick up a Hades, which is understable, and a headwind is blowing, let's say you normally throw a Hades because it's good for your arm, and the headwind's blowing in, you're not even going to come close to hitting the hole because the disc is already understable and the headwind's going to force it to go and be even more understable. So getting in the field and understanding how your discs fly allow you to understand what discs you should be pulling out on the course. And this is not something that we're saying you have to do an hour every single day in order to get better, just one time a month. If you're not feeling too good, go out to the field, take your cell phone and record yourself. Even if you don't have somebody recording, kick it up on your bag, kick it up on your cart, whatever you have to do. If you can record yourself while you're doing field work and give yourself a visualization of a thumbs up or a thumbs down after the throw to let yourself later know that you threw a good shot or a bad shot, that will help you see the things you're doing correctly and the things you're not doing correctly. Because in the moment, it might feel like you're doing everything perfect, but then you can look at it and you can be like, wow, I'm not even hitting the power pocket. I'm looking forward. I'm not dipping my head. All these different things that you could be doing. And a great example here is go listen to our last episode where we did our Patreon roundtable. At the end of the episode, we did a literal form check. So if you want that, hey, join us on Patreon for the monthly roundtable. You can be a part of that. But that's one of those things where checking your own form in the field is critical to you improving your game and mastering your form.
No, I completely agree. And I think a lot of people are probably, well, obviously I agree. That's why we've been talking about it for, however long. But I think a lot of you are probably saying, but I want to get out and play, me and my buddies finally have a chance to go play. I want to go actually play around. And that is great too. But like we were saying, like Quentin was saying, he pretty much nailed every point. But, like Quentin was saying, when you're in the field and you throw your disc, every disc, try to throw it on the exact same line. So throw every disc flat, throw every disc with a hyzer, throw every disc with an anhyzer, throw it with the wind, throw it against the wind, throw it crosswind, whatever it might be. And I'm not saying do all that in one field work session. We're saying over time, even if you go once a month, do all of these things and you will be amazed at how much this will help your game. So that brings us into point number 2. We think we can throw a shot, maybe not so good, and we think we're Superman, or maybe it is fine and we're like 100 feet out and we want to run every putt, and we know that when we run it, it's probably going to be 30 feet past. Or say another example would be you throw it in the woods or just off of the fairway and you have a line over OB for 150 feet with a bunch of trees. If you throw it 200 feet and you get through all that, you're going to be parked. Or you can just do a little pitch out and save par. And a lot of us will try to make the hero shot. And then we get into a bad situation and we end up adding strokes to our round, which is never ideal. And the same thing with running it on like up shots or putts or any of that stuff. It's think about where you are. If you're out there having fun trying to throw aces, totally get it. If you're trying to win a tournament or beat your friends, think about what's going to help you win the game or win the round, I should say. Find kind of like what Robbie C. We have a video from our podcast with Robbie C. Finding your comfort zone, I think is that what he called it? Comfort zone? Finding your comfort zone, 10, 5, 15 feet. Think of it as a circle around the basket and land in there and you will save a ton of strokes.
It's one of those things where when you try to make the hero shot, if you're an AM player, like we're talking about, right? These are the 7 things AM players do that they need to stop. Your probability of being successful on that shot is not very high. So I want to bring up a couple examples. One, for myself, at a recent tournament, I was in a position where I had to reach out and I had to go around the mandatory to get back toward the basket. If the mandatory wasn't there, I literally could have thrown it straight at the basket. I would have been fine, but I had to go around the mandatory to get to the pin. I could have just pitched out and then taken a par. But instead, I decided that I was going to try to stretch out as far as my legs could go and throw a disc at an angle that I never practice because I don't ever do it in the field. And instead, what happened was it went out of bounds and I took a double bogey. I'm literally putting for bogey from 50 feet away. So I did that 2 times in that tournament. And the next thing you know, I ended up losing by that exact margin. I would have won by 2 strokes if I wouldn't have done that. So that is a real life example. Another example is when you're in the trees and you're like, I think I see a disc gap right there. I can get through that. You can't. All right? I'm going to tell you this right now. You cannot do that. Maybe you're superhuman and special and you're going to be the next Paul Macbeth and you can. But 99% of us, myself and Trent included, cannot do that. So it's the difference of you might not save your par, but you can save your bogey. And a bogey's not going to ruin your round. A double bogey, triple bogey, quadruple bogey, that's going to ruin your round. But if you just have one blemish on the scorecard, you can make that up. It becomes a lot harder when you try to force things to happen. It's kind of just like in life. You can't force everything in life. You can't force everything in disc golf. You got to take what comes to you. And sometimes this is the hardest pill to swallow for AM players. You got to pitch out, you got to throw the stroke away, and you got to move on because that hole, unless it's the last hole of the tournament, is not going to be the end. You're going to have another hole. You're going to have another opportunity. This leads me in to the third thing that AM players do that they need to stop is they're throwing discs that are too high of speed. And they have too many discs. I mean, I get it. We want to buy as many discs. We want to try them all out. And that's probably not a bad idea. But when you couple that with the first tip of not going in the field and not working on understanding your discs, and the next thing you know, you have a cart or a bag that's full of 20 discs that all do pretty much the same thing, but they're not the same, right? There's no reason for you to have a Zeus, Raider, DD3, Destroyer. There's no reason to have all 4 of those. They all do pretty much the same thing. They're an overstable 12-ish speed disc. So what players do is they grab that Destroyer because it's the coolest disc. It's the most popular disc out there. They grab the Zeus. They grab the Raider. They grab the DD3. They grab these discs that they physically cannot throw because the flight numbers are only true if you're able to hit the first number. The first number on the disc is speed. That is how fast you have to throw the disc in order for it to do the rest of the numbers. So if you have a DD3 and you're throwing it at like a 7 level speed, then it's just going to be a meat hook and it's not going to go very far and it's just going to fall to the left. But if you're actually able to throw it at a 12 speed, then you're going to see the disc go a little bit to the right and come back to the left on its finish. So it's one of those things where you see players wanting to throw the cool disc, the high-speed disc. I really believe, especially through the interviews and as long as we've been doing this podcast, the best way to build your throw and to build your form is to start with a putter and a mid-range. Those 2 discs will show you exactly what you're doing right and exactly what you're doing wrong. And with your arm speed, you will be able to get there. And a really good experiment that I've tried is I've gone out to the course a couple of times and I've been throwing my putter first and then I'll throw what I was actually going to throw. And I'm finding that my putter is getting to these holes, if not going past some of these holes. And I never would have even thought to have thrown my putter there. So that tells me that I can throw a lower speed disc that is going to be more accurate than a higher speed disc because a lower speed disc is going to have less left to right movement than a higher speed disc. So it's important to find the lowest speed disc you can possibly throw to get to the hole. Scott Stokely has talked about that. Johnny McRae has talked about that. And Ron Converse has talked about that on our show. So it's one of those things where you can throw that 12-speed DD3, or you could throw an EMAC Truth, a 5-speed, and maybe the difference is 15 feet. I really think that throwing those super overstable and those super high-speed discs and having too many discs. Check out our episode with Joel Freeman. We talk about why you should limit your bag, why you should be taking things out of your bag. It's a fantastic episode to learn more about this tip and why you should not be throwing as many discs. I highly recommend checking it out if you want to hear more on this. But again, to reiterate, too high a speed and too many discs is a thing that amp players do that they need to stop doing. Look at all the pro players in the bag. They've got like 4 discs that are a DD3 or a destroyer, and they all do something a little bit different. And yeah, I can't say enough about this.
Yep, I agree, and I think I have literally done this exact thing. I mean, we're both AMs. I'm definitely an AM. Buy every disc I can, try everything I can. I think it's great to do that. What I don't think, like we've talked about, and you just were talking about, I don't think having the destroyers, the forces, the Zeus, I mean, heck, sometimes even the Hades, sometimes you can get a little bit more distance out of it, but it's still not doing what it's supposed to do for most AM players. Higher level advanced players, it's probably doing what it's supposed to do. Intermediate, sometimes. You know, it really just depends. But for the most part, I mean, I really focused on, this is just a tip for me, or for you guys, for what I did. So when I first started, I started throwing every disc, Ballista Pros. I remember having one of those, a regular Ballista, way too fast to disc. I was forehanding them, backhanding them. They weren't doing quite what I wanted to do. I get a little more torque on the forehand, so they, you know, I thought they went a little bit further. But one thing I did to kind of pull myself back in, get a little more realistic, like Quentin was talking about, I took every disc out of my bag. That was, I think at the time I had a Beast in there, and that was my fastest disc. So that's a 10-speed for those that don't know, which is kind of a lower speed, high-speed driver. It's on the fringe, right? Point being, took everything above a Beast out. So I had a couple 9-speeds, 7-speeds, some mid-ranges, and some putters. What I found out, especially when I went to the field, exactly like Quentin was talking about, I could take these EMAC Truths. Heck, sometimes my EMAC Judge would go just as far. I could take these discs and I could throw them 20 feet short of my Beast or my Sapphire. Yes, I'm an amateur. I'm not expecting to throw bombs, but that just goes to show that I'm able to get the speed, or I'm able to get my arm speed up to the speed of the disc, which is a 5-6 speed, whatever, mid-range or low speed fairway, and get the disc to do what it's supposed to do, and it's flying a lot further for me. So yeah, I love that tip. Take a lot of the high-speed stuff out of your bags until you get a little more comfortable and you start seeing these S-curves out of the discs that are designed to do that, and I think it will pay dividends, and you will – actually, I don't think. I know it'll pay dividends. You will play a lot better. Heck, in the episode with Chris Smith, he talks about, at least in the Wichita area, once you get to at least in the Wichita area, all you really need is a mid for a lot of the holes, and I tend to agree. It's a lot more fun to grab the higher speed stuff. But there's a lot of holes that I always throw, you know, a trespass or something, and I'm like, man, if I would have just grabbed my mid-range, my EMAC Truth, I think I would have scored probably the same score, or maybe done even better. So who really knows? It's amazing what you'll find out by doing these things, and we look forward to hearing about your stories. So side note, we got a Facebook group. You should totally jump on that. I'm running that. Quentin does a lot of the other socials, but we are trying to build a nice community over there.
What's it called?
It's called Chain Clankers Disc Golf. Anyways, we are trying to build a nice community over there where you come in, you get to sometimes you get to help with the thumbnails. You get early access to YouTube videos. You get to talk to Quentin and I. We interact with all the time on there. I ask you questions. Heck, you even get to sometimes be a part of different, things we talk about on the podcast. We obviously promote all of our stuff. You'll be in up to date on merch. You'll be up to date on kind of what we're thinking guest wise. When we have bigger guests coming on, you guys will know because we'll ask questions in there. And then, we want it to be a place where me and Quentin aren't the only ones talking. We want you guys to be the ones talking too. So if you have a question, if you want to get a little discussion going about your putting form, any of that kind of stuff, throw it up there, and we would love to help, and we'd love to chat. So go check it out. Facebook, Chain Clankers Disc Golf. It's got our logo on it. This brings me to our next point, which is point number 4. I let other players influence my play on the course or my game plan. So what I mean by that is, say for me, don't have the fastest arm speed, and I can throw a trespass about 350 on a good day, and say we're on a 350 foot, pretty much straight hole, maybe a little dog, tiny bit finish to the left, and I grab a trespass. Well, the guy in front of me has a lot faster arm, and he grabs a buzz. So he's like Drew Gibson or something. And he steps up to the hole, and he just absolutely laces it and parks it. He or she, sorry. And I will kind of start second-guessing myself and maybe grab a different disc, and I'll be like, is the trespass or is the disc I have in my hand not the right disc? Because, this player just absolutely parked a buzz, which is a mid-range, and I have a high-speed disc. So point being, do not let other people kind of sway you from your game plan. You know your bag, you know your discs, especially if you're doing field work and these other things we've been talking about. Even if you're not, you know your discs and your bag and your arm better than anybody else. So don't let other players influence your plan. If you went out and practiced the hole or play the hole a certain way all the time and you have a good time and you are successful, do not let someone else kind of get in your head. And they're not doing it on purpose. I'm not saying that, but don't let them influence your decision and change your game plan and how you want to attack that hole.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where especially newer disc golfers will be in a situation where they see their friend making mistake number 3. They're throwing a 12-speed destroyer, raider, whatever, insert 2 high-speed disc here, and then they're like, oh, I should throw that also. That's what my friend is throwing, so
right.
I'm going to throw that. And then it gets to the point they start getting, and they don't listen to your advice of, no, friend, maybe you should throw an EMAC Truth. Maybe you should throw an MD3. Maybe you should throw a Buzz, M3, whatever it is. They don't listen to that advice because they're watching you do the exact opposite advice. If you're bringing your friend out to play disc golf with you and they're pretty new, they're learning a lot, you got to do what you're telling them to do. If you're telling them to do X, you should be doing X also, because then they're going to think, why should I do what you're saying if you're literally not even doing it anyways? It's one of those things where it leads me to the 5th thing that AM disc golfers do that they need to stop, is they only have one shot selection. They only have a backhand, or they only have a forehand. They are unable to throw an anhyzer. They only have a hyzer. So it's one of those things where when you put yourself in a box that you can only do one thing, when you're unable to do that one thing, you are going to struggle a lot. You need to have a game plan for what you're going to do, and you need to learn how to throw other shots. Even if it's not going well for you, you have to learn. You have to be vulnerable. You have to embrace the suck and move on from it, because otherwise you're never going to improve that skill. It's one of those things where, let's say you're slowly trying to add a forehand to your game. You don't have a whole lot of time to go out for field work. You really only get to go play with your buddies. Here's what I'd say you can do to improve your forehand. Throw your regular shot and then tell your friends, hey, I'm going to throw a forehand here also because I'm trying to improve my forehand. And take that shot seriously. Don't be like, it's my second shot, it does not matter. No, you need to take it seriously like it's still your first shot. In doing so, you're going to be working on your forehand development and getting that extra rep. Maybe you only throw forehands. Inverse that. It's the same thing with the backhands. Okay, hey, everyone, I'm going to throw a backhand here because I need to work on it. Tomahawk here. Hey, I'm going to do this step putt. I'm going to do this jump putt. I'd even go as far to say, let's say you're 15 feet away from the basket, but you're trying to develop a step putt. If it doesn't matter, get the rep in. That way you can get the motion down. It doesn't matter if you're outside. Of course, if you're playing in competition and someone's going to call you on it, yeah, don't do it at 15 feet. But if you're trying to understand the motion, if you're trying to learn, if you're trying to progress, why not do it every time you possibly can? That's my thing, is you should do it as many times as you possibly can. If you're not able to, if you don't have a basket in your backyard and you're unable to do 100 putts a night, when you're on the course, you should get as many reps as you can, because that's the fastest way for you to improve. And you don't see a lot of AMs doing that. You see a lot of these players who only have a backhand, and then when they have to go to a forehand in a tournament, all of a sudden, that's when the big numbers start to come up. That's when it goes back to Trenton's point of being a superhero, and you try to do something crazy that you've never practiced before, and you're unable to execute on it. So make sure you're doing both. You're getting reps on both. You're expanding what you can do in disc golf. You're not just pigeonhole yourself into doing one thing.
Yeah, and to add on, I mean, I love this tip, and having a basket in the backyard makes it a lot easier. But like you said, on the course, I would even add to it though. So Quentin was talking about backhand and forehand. I would even think, and step putts, all that stuff. I would even think about, I mean, I don't know how to throw a thumber, never tried. I don't know how to throw a grenade, never tried. Is that a shot I need very often? No. Is that a shot we should practice? I mean, when you get to a certain point, yes. I don't know. Brody Smith throws a scuba. I think that could be handy. I think I've tried to do it twice. The time to do it is not on when it counts in on the course and around. Like Quentin was saying, it's great to, like, okay, do your normal putt. Okay, let me try this. I've always wanted to, maybe you don't have a death putt, but maybe in like other situations you've had a death putt, and you think about a scuba, you're like, okay, I've never done it before, so I'm not gonna do it now. But when you're just at a casual round with your buddies, and do your normal putt like you normally would, whatever it is, your floaty bid, and then step up and do that scuba. Think about all the different, to touch on your point earlier, Quentin, you kind of stretched out one time and threw a little flick forehand Annie that you had to kind of flex around. It doesn't have to be a perfectly straight shot just because that's how the line is. If you're out there practicing and you tell your buddies or your friends that you want to practice and you're going to throw an extra shot, you don't have to just do, okay, so you normally throw a forehand. You don't have to just throw a regular backhand as your second shot. Think about these other different things that could come up and focus on that. I would even add, David Phelps talked about it a little bit, putting from a knee. Like if it's a situation where you normally stand up and putt on your first putt, stand up and putt like you normally do, but the better line might be from your knee. Tell your friends that you want to try this and do it. I mean, it'll pay dividends. And like Quentin said, getting out there when you only have time to do it on the course or wherever it is, get the reps in when you can and think outside of the box a little bit, because you never really know what's going to happen. And just like anything else, if you practice it, you're going to be a lot better at it than if you just wing it. The sixth thing that we see, or that a lot of amateurs do, is they focus on distance rather than accuracy. We've kind of touched on it a little bit, but this is a huge one. You see all the time, especially on like YouTube channels, disc golf forums, discussion pages, someone talking about distance. I finally hit 300 feet, or I finally hit 400 feet, or whatever it might be. While throwing far is fantastic, focusing on accuracy is going to shave so many more strokes off of your round than being able to throw those 350, 400-foot shots. If you can just absolutely pin 280, 300 feet, 250, let's say 250. If you can just, every time it's going to land right here about 250, 275, and then you're really good at accurate little upshots of 80 feet, 50 feet, 70 feet, whatever it might be, you're going to probably play better rounds than your friends that can throw 400, 350, 400 feet. A lot of amateurs spend way too much time worrying about distance when they're at the field. Instead, they should be focusing on little fun games. Like Quentin and I have a video where we throw through a triple mando, basically throw through the field goal. That's a good way to practice accuracy. It's a little goofy. Might not be the best for nose angle, but at the end of the day, we're trying to hit a line, and that's what you do. So when you're at the field, when you're doing these things, don't always focus on distance. And definitely, like Quentin brought up, record yourself. You can get, this is a fancy little $10 or $15 tripod off Amazon. You don't even have to be that fancy, but point being, get a camera, record yourself, focus on your form and focus on accuracy, and I think you will shave tons of strokes off of your game, because the distance will come with time. It might take a little longer than you want, but I can attest to it. My distance has gone up slowly, but it's definitely going up, and it will make a big difference if you focus on accuracy, because the distance will come as your form and everything gets better.
So yeah, I really like what you have to say there. Makes sense. Let's go to the final thing that AM disc golfers do that they need to stop doing. It's only taking the good shots. Let's say you do 2 putts. First one misses, second one goes in. Oh yeah, well, I'm gonna put the birdie on the U disc because the second one went in. It counts. Okay, you're off the drive. The first one goes OB. The second one doesn't. I'm going to just take the second one. Call it good. Doing that puts you in unrealistic situations. You are going to have moments when you go out of bounds in a tournament. You're going to have moments where you screw up, and you're going to be in positions that you're not normally in. You can play a course 100 times, and you might hit a tree for the first time in competition when it matters. You need to know how to get up and down from there. You need to be able to perform when things aren't going good for you. So it's really important that you're not just taking the better shot every single time you throw more than one disc. You're taking your first shot, because then it puts the added pressure on your first shot of this needs to be good, like it would be in a competition round. So to sum everything up, it's really important that you do the worst shot sometimes. You're not always taking your best shot. If your first shot is great and maybe your second shot is awful, maybe for fun, take your second shot. You can still throw your first shot, but maybe just throw your second shot. See how you could attack the green from there, because you're never going to know when in a competition round you're going to end up there. So it's one of those things that you need to practice. It gives you more practice from other places on the course that maybe you're not at all the time, and then it gives you confidence. I think a huge thing in disc golf is confidence. If you're confident making the drive, making the throw, making the putt, you're going to play a lot better than if you don't have that confidence. So anything you can do to give yourself more confidence, you're going to be a better disc golfer. And if you want to continue to be a better disc golfer, the bonus tip in this episode is you need to make sure you subscribe right now. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're listening, hit the subscribe button. Turn on the notification bells. There's new podcasts every Monday at 6 a.m. Central. And there's new YouTube videos every Wednesday. And just to, give you guys a little secret, we're going to be adding Friday also. There's going to be new YouTube videos on Friday upcoming as well. So another reason to subscribe. So make sure you're doing that, because you never want to miss a great tip that might just unlock the next thing you need to improve your disc golf game.
All right, guys, I think we are going to wrap it up there. I think that is all the tips we got. So let's do a quick little recap. So first thing that AMs do, we got 1, no field work. 2, thinking you are Superman and you're trying to take the best or the riskiest shot instead of the smart shot. 3, throwing too fast of discs or having too many discs in your bag. 4, letting other people influence your game plan or change your game plan. 5, focusing on only one shot type, backhand, forehand, whatever it might be. Switch it up a little bit. Number 6, focusing on distance rather than accuracy. If you focus on accuracy, it's going to shave strokes off. It's going to be great, and distance will come with time. Number 7, playing only the safe shot when you throw a couple shots off the tee. And the final tip being, subscribe to the Clankers podcast on Apple, Spotify, all your podcast locations. Definitely check us out on YouTube. Like Quentin said, we drop the podcast on there on Mondays. We have the YouTube videos on Wednesday, and then soon enough, not sure exactly when we're going to start doing it, but we're going to start throwing videos up on Fridays. Just got to find a little time to get those rolling, and you won't want to miss out, because you never know, like Quentin said, you never know when one of these goofy little videos that we're throwing up is going to be the tip that changes your game. All right, and if you are still hanging out with us, we really appreciate you guys. We are at 8 out of 10 on our Patreons. Quentin and I both vouch to give you 1 disc each from our collection. We have sent those out to everybody. We would appreciate 2 more. And you guys that are still hanging out here, we're talking to you, because you guys care. You guys really enjoy the content. You're digging the content. If you want to help us continue to grow this brand, continue to make better content, continue to make better podcasts, continue to get better guests, all of the above, We would love your support on Patreon. We're working on getting a few different things for this, potentially having a studio in old Q-Man's basement. We're trying to get a new camera for YouTube so we can actually have a nice zoom and you can still see the disc rather than a cropped in zoom that makes it a little fuzzy. Potentially getting a new mic so that we can have, more than just Quentin and I talking. We got all kinds of awesome stuff in the works. More merch, all that good stuff. So if you could go to patreon.com/Chain Clankers, check out the perks. There's benefits for you. You can get on the monthly podcast if you're an ACE member. You can get on there quarterly if you want to be an Eagle Club. There's tons of benefits. Eagle and ACE. Eagle, you get either a hat or a shirt after 3 months. ACE Club, you get our hat or shirt right away. It is not expensive. It is much appreciated. We try to provide value for doing these things, and we appreciate all you guys. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Comment down below what you thought of the episode, how we're doing here. Let us know with any insights. And if you comment down below, then we know you were here at the end. So that is amazing, and we appreciate that if you let us know what you thought of the episode. But anyhow, I think that's all for this one.
We will see you guys next week.